Warning, warning, Wii U. If you're a big fan of RWBY and don't want to listen to people being rude about the show, you probably won't enjoy this podcast. Please don't make yourself suffer. You've been warned.
I had one thing and you've taken it from me.
Oh, Penny girl, the pipes are calling. From glen to glen, and down the mountainside. The summer's gone, and all the roses falling.
Not a real show, not a real show, not a real show.
Oh, Penny girl, oh, Penny girl.
It's not real, it can't hurt me, it's not real, it can't hurt me. Eddie's not real, Ma's not real, Carrie's not real, Kiersey's not real, none of them are real, it can't hurt me.
So Penny died.
To me. Penny's dead. To me.
Does this count as points for death pool? I feel like you can make an argument.
I think so. I think I'm going to check that part off on my bingo. We have to talk about all the stuff leading up to it, but holy shit. The spoilers, this is the second episode this season that made me cry. It's a very affecting season.
The first time you cried in the way they intended, didn't you?
Yeah.
When Penny had the good lines.
Both times I cried because something bad happened to Penny, but only one time did the writers know that that's what was happening. Anyways, Goofy Grim are flying around attacking ships. It looks really silly.
That shot is amazing because you see 3 Atlas fighters flying through the air. 2 of them just get tackled out of the air immediately by a Grim, and the third one flies on. Now, it's lucky the third one made it, because that's the one that has all our main characters in it.
Well, they're just better at this.
It would have been funny. That's the end of the show. Tonk, tonk, third one, tonk, done. Bye.
Yeah, and it's so great because the ship's just like the Grim goes on them, and they're just like, whoa, I'm going down.
Yeah, just immediately. It was a really funny
Yeah,
shot.
like there's no smoke, there's no shooting, there's no nothing. They're just floating around and they go down. Anyways, Ironwood has combined his 2 guns into one big laser gun, and it looks really silly, and I have no idea why the fuck they thought that was necessary.
Yeah, it's just a big Nerf gun. I gotta give RWBY points for consistency. This series has had 2 big bads, but they managed to off them in less than a minute, kind of out of nowhere, real quick. And so at least they did that for both. It was sort of equal opportunity. Both major villains were done away with in seconds.
We can't talk about that yet. First, we gotta talk about the drones. They're loading the bomb onto the ship. And it's really funny because, like, these fucking robots, I always wonder how sentient they are. Because, like, one of the robots is doing that, like, gesture, like, this way, with its arms to the other robots. And it's like, what the fuck is their deal? Like, what
Cube, I think we had an answer this episode as to the sentience of robots.
I'll fucking kill you. Ironwood is with the 3 Aesop's. Harriet's like, when those fucking kids show up, I'm gonna murder them. It's all I've ever wanted to do. And Vine sighs, and she's like, what's your fucking problem, Vine? And he's like, just retracing the steps that led us here. And it's like, fucking boy, same.
I just like I'm just full of regret. You know, the things have gotten here. I should retrace the steps. I listened to a fascist. The fascist went insane. I continued listening to the fascist.
Yeah. I did the thing Ironwood told me to do, and then I did the thing Ironwood told me to do. Then he killed a person, then I did the thing Ironwood told me to do. Then he tried to kill another guy, did the thing Ironwood told me to do. How did we get to this point in our lives?
I can't figure out where we went wrong. Anyway.
Crow and Robin are in the hangar. They gotta do something that doesn't matter and won't help. It's completely irrelevant.
They're either trying to stop the bomb or just trying to escape, which would be really funny.
Yeah.
They saw the bomb and were just like, bye. But Harriet's like, I want to go kill Crow. I want to kill people. I like it. And Elm goes, well, someone's got to stay here and protect General Ironwood. It's just an interesting thing to bring up. And then Winter turns up and says, I'll do it. You guys all fuck off.
Someone else pointed out, there was that whole scene where Harriet was like, she let the people escape. And then, like you said, there's no consequences for that. Like, Ironwood doesn't distrust her.
Yeah.
But it's really weird that still nobody brings that up and still nobody has any trust issues with her. She's just considered to be definitely loyal.
Yeah, no, that's one of our commenters on YouTube pointed that out as well. That, like, in back-to-back episodes, she betrays Ironwood's trust, and then the next episode she's like going out of her way to be like intensely loyal to him, and no one thinks this is sus.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Because they don't talk to each other when the right episodes. So anyway, they leave. Winter goes to make some comment, and he's like, I hope you're not trying to talk me out of this.
Yeah, she shoots at one last shot.
Penny arrives. Penny's here. She just lands. Green eyes. She's fine.
Mm-hmm. Or is she...
Yeah. Winter goes up and puts things on her. She's just like, I don't want anyone else to die. I have to open the vault.
You can't just skip over her putting handcuffs on Penny. It's still really fucking funny.
Yeah, but it's happened so many times.
It's so stupid.
They love handcuffing the robot with rocket boots and lasers. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Ironwood, he had his gun. He had his big Nerf gun trained on her. But then he sighs and he's like, oh, you're doing the right thing.
Oh yeah, he says, you've done the right thing. And then she's like, I have. Feels weird. It's Emerald, like I predicted. She saved the day.
You called it. And so then what we have is a scene where 6 or 7 people just beat the shit out of an old man.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And happy music plays. That's our big boss fight with this guy.
Yeah, like they went to the effort of making him the big bad again. He's big scary man. Oh, he's done. No, he's done. Because Ironwood, the man with an army and robots and airships and lots of stuff, decided to meet the killer robot with like one person next to him. Like, these people are such fucking idiots. All of these villains are such fucking idiots.
That's the thing. Even if it was just Penny, he would be able to do nothing against her.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's no one else around. The Atlas military is just the Aesops, and he sent them away. Like,
if Penny wanted to just fly in and murk him, she just could have. Super easy.
Yeah, it's just what I do also like. I mean, there's a reason for this, but I just love that it's Team Jury and Emerald and Winter beating the shit out of Ironwood. Because, like, who's not there? Who continues to not be here to do stuff?
RWBY?
RWBY.
Any of the relevant characters? Also, John really should have been with the other group for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, well.
But they wanted to split them up into their proper groups once again, finally.
I also did like that Oscar's Kane seemed to do some time stuff. That certainly looks like some time stuff.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting when it does time things? Almost like it stores time or something. That's really weird that it would do things like that suddenly.
Yeah.
Angry.
We talked about that last episode with the fight with Cinder, but it does pretty much exactly the same animation where it just moves real quick, like it stores time.
And it's also, because there's so many people in this fight, everyone has to do that thing where they just stand off screen being polite while people are attacking him.
Yeah.
Especially Emerald, who, now has the power of do whatever the fuck she wants visually with whoever she wants at any time. She takes the gun and she teleports out or something, and she's not going to help during the rest of that fight.
Nope.
And they do a finishing move with Winter and Oscar, and where's everybody else? Just waiting.
Yeah, waiting politely where everyone has their go at beating the shit out of Ironwood.
This is why you don't have a final boss fight where it's just a man fighting 6 kids.
Yeah. It's amazing the extent to which they have managed to make every climactic boss fight fucking underwhelming.
Yeah, like, again, happy music plays. Like, it's just like a happy good times, good feels, them beating up Ironwood. It's so fucking weird.
I get it. Ironwood has deserved bashing for a while now, but, like, just because, like, he's getting it doesn't mean this is satisfying, because it's just so dumb.
Yeah.
That he would meet them essentially alone. The only protection he had was a character who was already disobeyed his orders and kind of betrayed him once, but he just wasn't paying attention when that happened, so who cares?
And Winter uses a finishing move on him where she slashes him and then anime effects happen. It's her new semblance is to make anime effects appear, but they don't do anything except he falls over. And that pisses me off, that shot, because it's a shot that you do in anime because you do a lot of those lens flares and then the bad guy explodes and you do like a yeah or something like that. But there's just a bunch of the lens flares and then he fall down.
Yeah.
And I was like, no.
It's just, yeah. The other thing about a fight like this is that it's like, okay, well, if he was that easy to take down, why has this taken so long?
Why didn't Winter just take him out?
Yeah. There's no fucking reason for this to have waited this long. Sorry, Aves in the chat just said, does this mean Winter can summon an Ironwood now?
Oh, fuck yeah. Also, someone posted a screenshot where apparently the official subs say lightning energy striking, so that was supposed to be lightning energy. That's not the sound or visual that we get at all, so that's awesome. That's fucking awesome. We have to mention something that I thought was going to be the big thing that would make me mad this episode because people spoiled it for me.
Oh, right.
But it's irrelevant next to other much bigger problems. But fucking during that happy music scene, you see the Aesops show up to Crow and Winter, who are fighting some drones, and Marrow uses stay on them. And then they're just talking to the Aesops while they're stayed, and they're like, sorry guys, we didn't want to fight. And Robin is like, we didn't want to drop Atlas either, but we've all had to make some tough calls, huh? I'm just going to keep sassy talking to you while you're frozen, as we can do it for as long as we want, can't we? Isn't that interesting?
They have aura, they are at full strength, and he just holds them there for as long as they want.
It's fucking amazing.
And the important thing to remember about this is that Eddie wrote this episode.
Yeah, so if you haven't heard our other podcast that we're going to have to release on YouTube now because it's officially fair game, we thought it was too salty, no longer too salty. Eddie is his crime quotient has risen above the necessary threshold.
Before we move on from Eddie and this whole thing, because this was the thing about, if you hadn't heard the episode, this was him responding to someone talking about how Marrow's semblance was broken and not properly explained. It made it very dissatisfying and frustrating for the audience because it seemed like he should just be using it at the start of fights all the time. Mm-hmm. And Eddie popped into the thread to explain why actually that they did get it right, and it's too hard anyway, so even if they did get it wrong, it's not his fault. The usual sort of Eddie thing. But one of the things he said explicitly in that was that, is that Marrow can't use it on people who have their aura up without burning himself out almost immediately.
I didn't see a single victim face on any of those Aesops. How the fuck was he able to use stay on them?
I bring this up because I don't know if we ever discussed this on the pod or not. I did always feel a little uncomfortable calling Eddie a liar, per se.
Yeah, I left that in where I said he lies, and you were like, I don't want to call him a liar.
And then you brought up something he lied about, and I was like, okay, he lied about that. But I think you put it well a while back in that he's not a liar so much as a bullshitter.
Yeah, I don't remember what podcast I heard it on, but now this is like fourth-hand information. But it's the idea that someone who lies is someone who says things that they know aren't true and says them anyways. Someone who bullshits just does not care whether the thing they're saying is true or not. They just say things. And that's definitely the energy I get from Eddie.
The thing he said about like exploring Hazel and Emerald and Mercury's relationship this season. So I'm really excited to explore that this season. And so that didn't happen. That wasn't going to happen. You're just bullshitting that person.
Yeah, and knowing he made that post that we made fun of, having already written this scene that was like well underway in this season, it was probably almost done being animated and everything. And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just, that was bullshit. The post was bullshit. But that's the thing. It just feels like he didn't care.
Yeah. Flashback. We've never considered using what's inside of the vault. We've never considered it for reason.
I mean, there is a good reason. You can't use the stuff because if you do, Atlas falls. That was always the thing. Before we get into the planning stage, I just want to acknowledge that after Ren had his whole thing about how we're out of our depth, we're not the ones who should be making these decisions, the kids unilaterally decide they are going to drop Atlas.
Hell yeah.
That's what happens. And like, we thought, foolishly, earlier in these seasons, that Salem would get here, and Salem, because she's so powerful, she would take the stuff, and Atlas would fall, and Ruby would be stupid for putting everyone in the hole. I don't think either of us could have guessed that Ruby would just choose to drop Atlas.
Well, here's the thing. It's okay because also neither of us would have guessed that dropping Atlas means that, see, they said when you use it to make anything else, Atlas falls. What they meant is when you use it to take anything else, Atlas might slowly fall later because it does also have plenty of gravity dust to keep it up for an ambiguous period of time such that we don't have to worry about it right away. And I sure didn't see that coming. I mean, you got me.
We go to this flashback that's a big planning phase. They spend a couple of minutes like discussing what they're about to do, but like it's all the stuff we just saw in a scene, which always really frustrates me when shows do this, because it's like, I don't need to hear about you guys wondering whether or not this will work if I just saw it work. Like, this is not interesting.
Also, wait, they cut into this with the fucking Winter and Marrow scene, which is so uncomfortably cartoony, and I hate it.
Yeah.
Because Weiss is like, well, you'll never guess who I just heard from. It's another person that's just giving me information to solve all my problems for me. That's my job as a character now. I'm Weiss.
I gotta be honest, I think Winter came up with this whole plan and just told Team RWBY, and they just sort of did what they were told, because that's all they can do now, is just have other people walk up and tell them what to do, and they go do it.
Yeah, the funniest ass thing she says to Marrow, he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, what I should have done ages ago, getting in touch with my sister. We're going to need help. And there's just something really funny about, like, I should have done this ages ago. I need to call my little sister to come fucking help us. It's beautiful.
I need to call the main characters. The main characters need to come and do stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get past the first part where they're figuring out what they're going to do about Ironwood. You know, we saw it happen. This is an annoying scene. Then it follows up to, what are we going to do to save everyone?
I wrote down a lot of lines that are very important from this scene.
The main one I wanted to quickly highlight, the bit where John says, can we just use the staff to teleport everyone away? And Oscar says, you can't just wave it like a magic wand and make your problems go away. Oh, really? Can't you? Can't you do that?
No, it doesn't count because we assured you our characters are super smart before we did it, so that doesn't count as just waving and making the problems go away. We also told you our characters are the smartest ones.
But also, like, Oscar, if there's any character so far this season who waved a wand and made a problem go away, who would it be? Who had a wand that they waved and a problem went away already?
Oh yeah, that would be ridiculous, wouldn't it?
Okay, so if you got it all written down, let's run through it.
After he says the magic wand line, he switches to Ozpin and it goes, the spirit in the staff, like Jin, but well, he's a character. He can build you anything, but only if you can explain to him how. You need blueprints and shit. And this whole situation where every single relic has a fucking sentient, sapient person in it makes it really super weird the way that they constantly talk about them, like, let's use the item to do this, when by that what they mean is let's ask the person who lives in that object to do this for us. And the fact that they're all like these slave people that the light god made just to live in little fetch quest relics for Ozpin, it's so fucked. I hate it.
When Oscar said the person at the lamp, he's a bit of a character, the sense of dread I felt immediately. I was just like, oh no. Oh no,
He's
they're going
not
to do a
too
funny
bad, it's
character.
just...
Oh, come on.
Well, we'll talk about it. I mean, I had so many more problems with everything else going on in that scene.
Oh, sure, of course, but like, yeah, we'll get to it.
And so it turns out that because it's Whitley's job to fucking do everything for everyone now, because he's the perfect boy, never had any problems, don't know why people judged him so harshly. He's like, oh, well, I already have all of the city layouts for the SDC evacuation plan. I've been hard at work, so that's what we need. That's all we need in order to create a super teleport map thing. Yeah,
that's the plan. They're going to teleport everyone out of Atlas.
No, it doesn't count as a teleport. They're just gates that travel from one point to another point very far away magically, but not. It's not like waving a magic wand and teleporting people. It's completely different.
So they're teleporting everyone away.
But not yet. That's going to be later.
That's going to be a bit later.
So Penny and RWBY arrive at the vaults. And this is why John should have obviously come with them so he could amp her aura, but it turns out that they aren't worried at all about Penny exploding herself. They barely give a fuck.
The idea is that as soon as Penny opens the vault, the virus in her will make her kill herself. So yeah, rather than bring John along to amp it and make that stop happening, they just like hope for the best.
They're just like, do your best, Penny. Do your best, Penny. Hang in there, Penny. Don't fucking die real quick, Penny. I'm sure you can do it.
My favorite thing about this, though, is that, like, Oscar's like, oh, yeah, when I stepped out of the vault, I blew a big hole in the bottom of Atlas, so that's how you can get in.
Also, hey, Oscar, why were you falling, Oscar? Why did that happen, Oscar? Is there anything that you should tell us about that happened that directly led to you falling off of Atlas, Oscar? Nothing relevant? Okay, good to know.
I mean, at this point, it really doesn't matter. But, like, we never get an explanation for why he didn't tell them about that earlier.
So fucking weird.
But also, this means that there has been a direct line to the vault this entire time. And no one was there.
Well, no one considered going in there.
Yeah, so Team RWBY, rather than doing anything helpful, take Penny to the vault.
Yeah, she opens the door with her maiden powers, and Ruby's like, okay, I'm going to rush real quick with everyone in my pedal ball, and I'm going to activate the staff before Penny can explode herself.
Her semblance still looks like absolute shit. Like...
It's real bad. And it still pisses me off that she can carry infinite people in it now.
Yeah. Well, Penny explained, you see. Penny explained because you can just have a character explain how a semblance works. Imagine that. Imagine having a character explain how a semblance works.
No, don't pretend that scene was good. I know that you want to pretend that scene was good to make the Marrow thing seem even worse. They're both bad. Bad show.
I was actually thinking about Ironwood, but whatever.
Oh my fucking God. So as they touch the staff, time stops because conveniently for this one, you don't have to use a password. It's only one of them where you have to know the name as a password for some fucking reason.
There's also something else really convenient about this relic. There's apparently no limit on how many times you can use it.
No, it's a horrible limit of you can only make one infinitely powerful thing to use it once. So why would you even bother using it at all? Pretty useless if you ask me. As time stops, you see a couple shots of people being frozen, which is funny for the shot of the Aesops because they're already frozen, so they're like double frozen now. But you see Winter walking Ironwood, and he's just kind of like sad being walked into jail, because he's just so determined and crazy and he'll fucking do anything. I give up. But then the next time that you see him, he's fucking passed out in jail. So, oops. Oops, motherfucking oops.
Oh, God, they really don't care. I really don't care.
And the last shot you see of frozenness is you see the girls in the background in the vault zone, which, by the way, I understand how it was supposed to look in the concept art, but in execution, they just used a bunch of like default, really realistic grass and flowers in the field, and it looks like shit. But you see Penny in the foreground holding her head looking like, fuck this shit. and all the girls are in the background behind her, and we have to use that as the thumbnail. It's the most amazing image I've ever seen.
It's very similar to the previous thumbnail, is the trouble.
Oh yeah, fucking.
One character in the foreground going, fucking.
But it's so relatable. Anyways, here comes the genie guy. It turns out he's Markiplier. I don't know if you've ever heard Markiplier talk, but his voice 100% sounds exactly like Markiplier, and it was very distracting for me.
I was just watching this shitty knockoff of a genie from Disney's Aladdin.
It's a little bit, yeah.
He basically comes out and says 10,000 years gives you such a crick in the neck. Like, this show is always derivative and just knocks things off, but all I was getting was crappy knockoff Robin Williams genie the entire time. It was really giving me the shits.
I will give them... I mean, you could have a whole conversation about the way he's framed related to Jin, and I don't want to have that conversation because there's too much else to be sad about. But they actually modeled his like muscles and stuff decently, and it really feels like this is what theoretically the light and dark bro were probably supposed to look like if they knew where muscles go back then. He looks a lot better than them, and he looks a lot better than Jin. And he's another naked blue person with chains in some places, but he doesn't have the strap-on harness chain, so what's even the point?
Yeah, I sort of wondered if he was like meant to be sort of a bit sexualized as a way to balance out Jean, but it's not like, there's a context there in terms of male versus female sexualization, so it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, and it's very like straight bro idea of sexualized guy, right? It's like a big buff guy showing up being like, look at all my cool, awesome muscles. I'm going to keep like kind of covering my crotch most of the time, just kind of covering it.
I always love those, when people would do designs for male Western superheroes that sort of sexualize them in the same way that the female ones were done. Like instead of being the idealized male body, the ones that like where they would wear those like weird G-strings and have lines that point right to their dick and stuff like that.
Yeah. I fucking hate those still. So it turns out that I'm an equal opportunity sexy costume hater.
Oh yeah, but like I think there's the reason we instinctively hate those is that like it makes us uncomfortable to see men sexualized in the same way because we're just not used to it. But we're so fucking numb to seeing it done to women. It's like really.
Though to be fair, I also hate it on women. So haha, sexism over. They're like, our friend, she's, you gotta help her. There's something wrong with her. And he's like, okay, I hope you know it's against the rules for me to bring people back from the dead. And they're like, well, she's not a normal person.
So we didn't. I feel like we might have skipped over this bit. Before they save everyone in Atlas and Mantle, the first thing they're going to do is save Penny, even though that means they're going to drop Atlas.
No, it's fine. Atlas drops very, very, very slowly. They just never brought that fact up before. I hate it. I hate that they're going to drop Atlas, but there's still no peril in the dropping Atlas. It's just fucking fine.
I want to talk about this when we get to the end. There is a lot to say about the dropping of Atlas here. But anyway, let's get to the objectively worst part of this episode.
Yeah, but he goes to inspect Penny, and he's like, I'd love to meet whoever did this. And I'm just like, you mean Pietro, the guy nobody cares a fuck about? The guy who might be able to help with the fact that the robot that he created and designed has a virus in her? The fact that literally nobody cares if he's alive or dead? Yeah, I'm sure you'd love to meet that guy. I'm sure you'd fucking love to meet that motherfucker.
It's amazing. It's fucking amazing.
First important black male character in RWBY.
The guy who could fix her is off somewhere, and no one's even mentioned the idea of saving them.
Yeah, I assume it's because Pietro and Maria are suddenly going to show up at the end of the season, so of course the characters know that's going to happen.
Yeah, of course.
But it's so fucking funny that not a single person has mentioned him.
Yeah. Again, just to reestablish, these are the rules. The genie can only make something if he has blueprints. You have to be able to tell him exactly what you want him to make. So, happily, Team RWBY got Penny's blueprints from somewhere else.
They look exactly like a human's anatomy. When you look at them, you're going to be like, damn, that's fucking exactly like a human's anatomy. That's spot on shit.
Now, what do they ask him to do?
Okay, here's the thing, viewers. If you don't watch the show, you're going to think, surely they aren't explaining this right. The way that they're explaining it makes it sound like complete fucking nonsense. They must not be explaining it very well. But the problem is that what they say here is complete fucking nonsense. And it makes me very angry. Because the way that they're going to solve this problem is they say, we brought her schematics. We want you to make a new version of her. Use her exact same robot parts. An exact copy of her would include the virus. We want you to create a new version of her using her existing robot parts, taking the virus with them. Because the thing is, they say that he can't destroy things. They know that that's a rule that he has. But if he makes a copy of Penny and puts the virus in it, then that will destroy the virus, but it doesn't count.
The idea is that he's going to make a copy of her, but it's not really a copy. It's like a cut. It's like a cut and paste.
It's really weird.
So what's going to happen is essentially he's going to split Penny's mechanical body and the virus from whatever is left of Penny on the other end, and then just sort of take whatever is left of Penny and flesh it out. Literally.
The whole problem here is that anything he creates will disappear as soon as you do something else with the staff. And he can't destroy things. So they want him to make a new Penny body. And we are going to see that disappears when they use the staff. Now, what happened to the old Penny robot body parts?
The thing he creates is not the alternate Penny body that is just a body. The thing he creates is the new Penny.
No, that part doesn't count. He only created the alternate robot body. You're going to say, but where did all the flesh body around Penny come from when the worst thing in the show ever happens? And the answer is, that doesn't count. Fuck you. Fuck this show.
It just kills me because the fucking bit that disappears is not the bit that he created. That is explicitly the already existing part.
No. That's the thing. He created an exact copy of Penny's robot parts. So he did create that secondary Penny body that they're going to sacrifice. And you might ask, but then what about the old body? And the answer is, fuck you. I'm really smart. Don't think about it too much. Just, I promise I'm smarter than you, and you shouldn't question my writing. I'm Eddie. Fuck this show. Fuck this show. Literally no way you can possibly think about this works out. It's all complete nonsense, and characters just keep saying things. And then, of course, the genie has to be like, wow, you kids are really smart. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Shut the motherfuck up.
This is such a lovely textbook example of we wanted to get to a thing happening, and we just backfilled to make it make sense. Because, in the end, as, we said, with, the fact that Pietro's over there somewhere, the guy who made her, there are other solutions to getting this virus out of Penny. There are lots of things they could have done.
Ask him to create an antivirus program.
Can you make Norton?
You dumb bitches.
Other, options are not relevant because what they're actually wanting to do is the thing that happens next.
But also, we have to get some more really horrible dialogue in before that happens.
Okay. I think we've already revealed what happens next. I think people can guess. But yeah, come on, let's do this bit by bit.
Okay, so he's like, okay, but if I take the robot parts out of her, that would leave. And Blake says, Penny, the girl who's always been there underneath it. And Ruby says, you can't destroy, but you wouldn't be destroying her. Her soul is who she is. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. And then Yang puts up her mechanical arm and she's like, the mechanical parts are just extra. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. I fucking hate everything about this. I hate everything about this so fucking much, Phoenix. Like this is the part that made me cry, because you see two Pennies next to each other, and one is her robot body copy, but maybe the original, but probably copy, but it's gonna disappear. And the other is Penny with no shoes, so you can see that she has human flesh limbs now, and she's a real girl now. She wasn't before, even though she kind of was in the way that mattered, but not good enough. She has to be a flesh girl. And like, I was so frustrated by the absolutely uncanny difference between what I was supposed to feel about this scene and what I was actually feeling about this scene that it overwhelmed me to the point of tears. Oh, because they took away everything that was interesting or cool about Penny in a single scene real quick, and you're just supposed to be like, I'm so proud of her, she's a real girl now, and eat so much shit.
The end of her arc, the qualification for her becoming a real girl is that she has to have a flesh body. This weird implication that no matter what experiences she had, no matter how sentient she was, if she had that robot body, she's not really a person.
And he says, but a soul without a complete body, what would be left? And Ruby's like, I don't know. I guess you have to get creative. And I'm so glad that one of the only rules that they laid out is that you have to have a blueprint and be able to tell him exactly what you want him to do, or else you can't get him to do anything. It turns out that all he ever wanted was for you to let him do his own thing, except for next time when he won't let you do that again because he'll forget. And then he says, but if I do that, how much of an old Penny would be my work and how much would be her just coming to the surface? And that's why you're supposed to think it's okay that he creates a flesh Penny, is because who could say how much of flesh Penny was his work? It doesn't count and it won't disappear because fuck you.
That's the thing. There is no other way of looking at it. The thing he creates that should disappear the second they do something else with the staff is Penny's flesh body. That's new. It's come from somewhere. It's not like it didn't exist before. He made it.
No, I think the idea is that it's just a property of the world of RWBY that if you're a soul without a body, you will just spontaneously generate a flesh bot around yourself. That's just natural.
I'm also like, I love the whole thing of, you should get creative. And what does he do? He makes an exact copy of Penny. Like, down to the clothes. Like, she looks exactly the same.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, it would make much more sense if she was naked, and I'm sure that came up in the writer's room, and they're like, we can't. Everyone's going to bully the fuck out of us.
Well, funny enough, that's happening anyway. But yeah, it's just...
It's so offensive to me as a writer. It's so disgusting. The whole thing about, like... I know it's a fucking Pinocchio thing, you know, like, oh, at the end of Pinocchio, that was his reward was becoming a flesh boy. But it's not the same because that's a fucking old ass story about this fucking puppet learning Christian values. And actually it is the same now because this is Christian as fuck. Nothing about you makes you who you are at all except for your soul.
Yeah. Literally
nothing else about you is part of your personhood. And it's like, shut the fuck up.
The only thing that makes you human is the flesh body that you're given by a god. That is the definition of a human.
No, the only thing that makes you human is your soul that was a chunk of a man's soul that he gave you. That's the part of you that really matters.
I'm amazed he wasn't called Adam.
I hate it. I hate it so much.
It's fucked.
It's so bad.
The second time it's happened, but this season. But like Yang pointing to her prosthetic arm and saying, well, this isn't a human part. And also the way that Ironwood has been treated in terms of, you know, the symbolism of him losing parts of his body. RWBY has a very casual relationship with ableism in this form, I think.
Yeah.
They are not thinking about the implications of this at all, and it's pretty offensive.
They think that the woke thing to do with stuff like prosthetic limbs is to be like, this has nothing to do with what I am. I don't even fucking see my robot arm. I am above this horrible thing that I'm attached to. But that's not fucking, like, you know, when I talk to other people who've lost limbs and stuff, they'll usually be like, yeah, I got some cool fairings for my legs, you know, and it's just a part of who I am, and I'm living with it, and it's great. But that's not how they see it. They see it as an abomination. Yang has to accept that it's okay because her horrible mechanical arm isn't a part of her. It's just extra.
Yeah, like I said, the symbolism involved in Ironwood becoming less human as he gains more mechanical limbs and stuff.
Yeah, that's explicit. That's not just us being harsh or trying to reach for things or whatnot. They were very excited about giving him an evil robot black arm to show that he was bad now, even more bad.
This was actually a pretty good post on the RWBY subreddit about, sorry to derail for a bit, but looking at Ironwood in terms of a character who is explicitly drawn as someone who has PTSD. He has mental issues and obviously all of this trauma. And the way that's like they use that to paint this character who ends up going mad and making all these awful decisions, and he's still painted as this awful villain we're supposed to hate.
I have two big things that I need to... Oh God, there's so much to say.
Just how sort of low-key fucked that is.
Yeah, this is such a thing in RWBY that, like, I don't think is purposeful at all, but it's a surprising amount of characters in RWBY. Their plot is sort of centered around, like, the correct and incorrect ways to react to trauma. Because you have, like, Blake reacted to trauma wrong when she ran away. Like, Ren reacts to it wrong. Cinder reacts to it wrong. Salem reacts to it wrong. I guess Weiss reacted to it correctly by forgiving her family and whatever the fuck. Like, it's like, why is this such a weird undercurrent of things that keep happening in this show?
The other implication there is that if you react wrong to trauma, you ought to be punished for it.
Okay, to be fair, Ironwood is, I mean, he is also a cartoon villain.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about Ironwood. I'm talking about, like, say, Cinder and Salem.
Yeah.
Their incorrect reaction to trauma ends up being, well, that was the thing you did wrong and you must be punished for it.
Yeah.
And you were deserving of no sympathy whatsoever.
Oh, yeah.
This buried thing that keeps coming up in RWBY of people reacting wrong to trauma is another one of those things that they really ought to step back and re-examine. Because it's pretty fucked.
It's like the alcoholism thing, right? It's either you figure your own shit out spontaneously or eat shit, it's time to die. Those are the two options you have as a character.
Yeah. Or in the case of the alcoholism, before that, it's just a funny character trait.
Well, that was a different time. Also, the thing about Ironwood as the Tin Man, there's this through line of all the Oz characters being the thing that the character in the Oz story is, but not with the interesting part that you find out later. Because, like, Leo is a cowardly lion, right? But he's just a coward, and then he dies, and he was always a coward. Ironwood, you know, the whole thing with the Tin Man is that he lost all of his human parts, but he still had a human heart in all the ways that matter. Nuh-uh. He lost all of his human parts. He's fucking heartless and evil now.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's so weird to be like, here's an interesting twist. What if the complex part of the character wasn't there?
Well, it's just that thing of they just need to function in this basic ass story as a villain. And they like to tack on the idea that they are connected to these things to give them a sort of fake sense of depth. But they're not actually connected to these things.
I hate it. Yeah, no, it's fake depth. It's great.
So yeah, Flesh Penny. Penny is flesh now. She's a real girl.
It's funny because her first response to awakening in her flesh bod is to, like, hold out her human hand. But because, of course, it's the exact same model as her robot hand, and it's gray because the colors in the show are shit, it really doesn't have the effect that it's supposed to.
No. Like, she underneath her glove, she had human hands before. She didn't have robot hands. Or at least they look like human hands.
Yeah, she just had fucking normal looking human hands. You could see them. Sometimes they got burnt and they looked like human burnt flesh.
Yeah.
And RWBY asks, "Are you okay?" And Penny hugs her and she says, "Do hugs always make you feel this warm inside?" And I'm like, eat shit, eat shit, eat shit, eat shit, eat shit. And Ruby's like, yes. And she makes a really weird face that it's almost like a fucky face. It's very strange. And then she just runs around hugging everyone. And that's just done now. Like, Penny is just a human now. And it actually goes by very quickly in a very fucking weird way. And it's so fucking surreal.
It's just like, Penny was cool because she's a robot. Robot's cool. That was cool. She's an AI sentience who's figuring stuff out. And now she's just human, so it's fine.
She had jet boots and she had, like, her cool swords that she could control. Those are gone now. She has inferior flesh leggies. And she didn't choose this. It's not the culmination of something that she was doing at all. It's just something that other characters decided to do to her.
Yeah. This was an explicit choice of Team RWBY, not as much as other characters carried on about the fact that, no, you're definitely a real person. Penny never expressed any of that herself.
She did in Volume 2, and then Ruby hugged her and said that you have a soul and a heart, I can feel it. But then later she decided they don't count.
Well, yeah, RWBY didn't. Even in this season, though, I never felt like Penny sort of was at all concerned about the fact that she was a robot. You know, like she had concerns about her relationship with humans and a lack of knowledge in certain areas. But the fact that she had a mechanical body never seemed to be her problem.
Yeah, she was never like, if only I didn't have this cursed mechanical form. All I've ever wanted is to have squishy flesh.
Yeah.
Then, okay, fine. But no, she's worried about emotional things.
You think about her intro in season 7 when she returns. She flies in the air, she's shooting lasers. She does that twirl in front of the moon.
Yeah, she was so proud of herself as the hero of Mantle.
Yeah, and now she's just a fucking human.
She can't do that anymore.
No. Just like aside from all the other fucked aspects of the whole, you know, you're not a human unless you got the flesh body thing, you've just made this character less cool. You took away something really cool from this character, and we're meant to think, oh, it's so wonderful, she's a real person now. When, like you say, that has not been something she has been pursuing at any point. Like, is she just going to automatically get emotions and shit now because she's in a flesh body?
If they act like she has more emotions now, I will go to Austin and I will
Ask them to reconsider their writing choices.
It's so bad. It's so bad, Phoenix.
Yeah.
It's the worst. It's the worst theme that I've ever seen. And I hate it. And I cry.
We spend a surprising amount of time watching Penny's robot body die, with it sort of falling to its knees and trying to reach out.
It's glitching the fuck out and it's really creepy and Penny kind of looks at it scared and I have no idea what the fuck I'm supposed to feel about that scene.
Yeah. It was looking at Penny and trying to walk towards her and reaching out to her as it, for a robot, quite painfully died. I was just like, what am I meant to feel?
As someone who's not religious, for all I know, that robot is just as sapient as this flesh Penny.
Yeah.
And all it knows is that it's missing its aura and that there's now a flesh girl and it's just and it's dying and we're just supposed to be like, yay, Penny did it. It's fucking weird as shit and I don't understand.
It's RWBY. You put a cool thing in. We think it's cool to do that. We should put it in without thinking about the implications.
What is cool about it? There's nothing cool about it. There's nothing cool at all about any of this. And also, they kept saying her robotness was a part of her, so they just destroyed a part of her. But it's okay because being a robot is a bad part of you, was the implicit part.
I hate the implication that this was the only solution to the virus. It's just so fucking stupid.
It's so blatantly,
It's so blatantly we just wanted to get to this point. We wanted her to be a real girl.
And also it means that we never got a hacked Penny robot fight or anything like you'd think from the opening. She just kept fucking glitching out, walking around, being confused, and then they made her into a flesh girl. And it's god damn it, I will admit that's not where I thought hacked Penny was going, you motherfuckers.
We just keep assuming they're going to do something vaguely cool. And they just keep shortcutting themselves out of it at every opportunity.
Yeah.
You end up not having an interesting fight with the Grim Army that turns up. You end up not having an interesting fight with Salem. You end up not having an interesting fight with Ironwood. These things are just solved whenever they get around to deciding they're going to fix them. It's fucking amazing. And again, I was looking at the subreddit. Fans aren't happy with this either.
Thank God some of them understand.
The fight with Ironwood was underwhelming, and that's stupid that it's over. That there has been another Deus Ex Machina that's just going to solve their problem for them. What they do next is just as bad as the fucking staff destroying Salem.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is just as pathetic.
I've come to appreciate that the Reddit fans, before I was pretty confused by the things that do and don't break them. But now I understand that, as long as cool anime things are happening, they're generally pretty happy. But there's, nothing cool anime about taking away the cool robot girl that we like to see do cute robot things. There's nothing cool about suddenly beating the shit out of the final boss and it not mattering. Now I think I get it. And oops.
Yeah. we've had a consistent couple of weeks of fans not being impressed by this. Like, obviously, some fans are still going, "Oh, this is great," but there is a turning here happening, I think.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And it's great knowing that the next season is already written and it's too late for them to fix anything that they might have fucked up.
That suggests they would have any idea how to fix anything. Like,
That's true.
they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Jinro, the JNROE, are in some kind of communication room, and they have to send an important message to everyone. It's just another fucking time this season where one of the main characters, the really pure important one, comes on the screen and is like, "What? Am I on TV?"
You would think after the first time they would learn to have a script prepared.
And it's great because, like, all John says is, "Hey, everybody, we're dropping Atlas, but," and then it gets cut off, and it's like, fucking awesome, good message, thank you. Oh, but also, Winter get a scene with her in jail with Jocks, and this is when Ironwood is suddenly passed out again, conveniently. And she says, like, "We're using the staff to take everyone to safety. Salem can have the rubble. We'll be long gone." I'm glad they all know exactly how long she'll take to come back to life this time, and that it definitely won't be instantly like every other time that it's happened on screen. So that's good. And Jocks is like, "Are you going to leave me here?" And she's like, "No, we'll move both of you to safety. Weiss decided, because she's the better sister and she forgives everyone no matter how abusive they are, because that's the better thing to do." And I'm just like, fucking let those two die at least. God damn it. Are you seriously being like, we have to save Ironwood so that he can face criminal justice? He's so fucking stupid.
There is something crazy about Weiss just forgiving everyone for anything they've done to her.
Jocks tried to rig an election and like had a huge hand in getting most of Mansell killed and all this stuff that's happening. That Jocks did that, and it's just like, well, nobody's perfect. He's my dad. I love him.
But it fits into the two redemption arcs we've had this season, where nothing sort of kicks them off. Two characters who were previously evil just decide to be good, and Weiss is like, "Yay!" and that's kind of it. There was nothing that prompted Whitley turning. There was nothing really that prompted Emerald turning, apart from oh, she was afraid. But it happens and it's fine, and everyone's buddy now. And it's so unbelievably piss weak.
I need alcohol. Because we're about to get into the fucking next thing that they asked the genie to do, and I need a lot of alcohol for this.
Do you actually have some alcohol?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
I have a Smirnoff Ice Smash, and I'm gonna get smash. And also, while they're talking to the genie about their secondary plan, I still can't get over how Penny is just a human now, and she was just like, "Wow, hugs feel warm," and that now she's just standing around in the line with everyone, like, "Okay, let's get this done." Like it barely mattered, and it's so fucking weird.
Yeah.
So tell me about their awesome plan, Phoenix, that they're so smart that they came up with, and it's not like teleporting at all, and it's awesome, and it's not a Deus Ex Machina, we promise.
So they've decided that the best thing to do for everyone in Atlas and Mantle is to let Atlas drop and shift everyone there, the entire kingdom, to Vacuo. Now, at first they say, "Can we just make some portals from Atlas to Vacuo?" And he says, "Well, only if you can explain to me how where all the doors have to go and how you're going to sort of squeeze everyone out of several outlets into one outlet. As long as you can explain that, then, then we can do it." And it's implied, yeah, that's impossible. Obviously, we can't do that. So what we're going to do instead is open a whole bunch of portals in Atlas and Mantle, bring them into the vault, and then have a bunch of doors that go to Vacuo.
No. That's what I thought was happening at first too, but that's not actually what's happening. They want to create a pocket dimension that's like the vaults. Because they have to explain the mechanics to him, which is really funny because he's like, I need you to explain the blah, the schematics, and how to bend time and space. So they just have that on lock. That's fine. Don't worry about it.
That line about "I need you to explain how to bend time and space" is like, that's meant to imply that, okay, you can't do that. But then they just say, "Hey, make something like the vault." And he's like, okay. They don't know how to make the fucking vault.
I don't think that's supposed to be like that's impossible, because he's just like, "Oh, you really brought all of your shit. Okay, you did your homework." And I don't know, it's fine. They're it's to make you understand that they earned this climax by being so fucking smart, we promise. And so what they're going to do is make a pocket dimension with a bunch of magical doorways leading into it from everywhere in Atlas and Mantle, and one big doorway leading out into Vacuo. And you might say, why Vacuo? Wouldn't it make much more sense to send them any fucking where else? And obviously the answer is that they need to bring every single character to the next season. Every fucking character must come along to the next season. They know it's in Vacuo. They have to bring them. You might say, why not in Vale? Why not in Mistral? Why not where the Faunus live? And the answer is because that's not where the next season is.
Yeah, we're going to take them to the most arid, hard to live in place. That place is going to support a whole bunch of refugees. Should be fine.
It's so fucking good. I hate this show. And so that's what they do. They make a magical realm. It's so good because he warns them, like, another thing about the central location of yours, do not fall. So, of course, the way that they set it up is that there's a bunch of magical doors and a bunch of tiny little light bridges. It looks like a fucking highway, like they're looping over each other and stuff. And good luck not falling, all the old people. The weak will not live, but that is the way of hunters.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And it's great because they show a shot of Joanne walking into one of them, and she just sees this fucking pocket dimension full of weird light bridges and doors, and then she just smiles at it like she knows exactly what's going on, and then she comes back out like, yeah. It's like, why would you understand anything that's happening?
The fucking genie and the creation staff finishes explaining things, and they take the staff, and I'm looking forward to whatever excuse they give for why they can't use this thing all the fucking time from now on. Well, no, actually, I can't say I'm looking forward to the excuse because we probably won't get one.
It's really bad.
They're going to have the staff of creation on hand, which has no limits to what you can do as long as you can, like...
As long as you can make a stupid excuse for it in the writing.
As long as you've got a schematic. Hi, Genie, I would like 10,000 fucking Honda Civics. And he can do that for you. And, like, you'll have those Honda Civics until you need something else.
Yeah, I want people to really consider how fucking much it is to create a shit ton of portals that go into a special magical pocket dimension that empty out at the other side of the world. And then I want you to think deeply about the fact that they've been using this entire time to float a fucking island.
Yeah, an island that it turns out was extremely easily attackable by Grimm and is now overrun. The floating of the island served absolutely no purpose in the end.
And also, you know what Salem's problem is that she has a body that can't die. It sure would be interesting if there was a magical person who could give her a new body that maybe is capable of dying because of stupid logic loopholes. And wouldn't that be interesting if that was a possibility instead of just pretending that there's nothing that they can do about her? Wouldn't that be interesting? Fuck this show.
I've got a schematic for a box you can put Salem in and just leave it there forever. That seems like a good use of the staff of creation.
Yeah, because so they imply if they fall in hammer space, like maybe you'll be lost forever or something. So again, there's many things you could do with this staff to try to solve the Salem problem. Nobody's even fucking tried. It sucks so much.
The writers don't think about these things. They just don't fucking think of the things that... They invent these things to solve one plot problem, and then they don't think about how this could be used in other ways.
Like Lednick said, the whole Oscar Ozpin situation, you know, if we're trying to separate different souls from different kinds of bodies or something, okay, well, can we get fucking him out of his balls? There's many problems that this can solve. Oh, but the last scene, let's cover it real quick, because Weiss is like, we did it. This whole episode, she's giving her no-cell delivery, and it's awesome. And Penny's like, what do we do now? And Ruby says, we go to Vacuo, all of us. But there's something funny about her delivery. It's like, we go to Vacuo, all of us.
God.
And hope that we've thought of everything. And then it pans to fucking Cinder in a cloak in the crowd like, nya-ha-ha.
Oh no, the character who gets routinely defeated all the time. She's here. Oh no.
That's the final boss of this season, I guess. It's not Salem, it's not Ironwood, it's the lady that got the shit beat out of her halfway through the season and has been acting like a goddamn child. Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. The fact that she's alone, I have a deep fear that Neo has been killed off screen.
Don't. You can't take Neo from me. I'm very scared now that they've ruined Penny in a way that's way worse than her being killed off. I'm worried that suddenly Neo is going to get the ability to talk. They finally got Sarah Silverman in. She's going to be given all kinds of quips, and I'm going to be like, murder me.
Yes, they could ruin Neo that way, but I reckon there is not an insignificant chance that we will get a flashback where Neo just gets murked, and that's the end of that.
No, come on, she's fine, but they might kill her still.
Are you seriously willing to take a punt on anything RWBY might do at this point?
Yes. I think they would kill Neo on screen. I think that they would at least, because they know she fucking puts butts in the seats and she's extremely marketable. They're not just going to kill her off screen. And especially because, I mean, why? Who would have killed her and why? It doesn't make any sense. You're going too far. This show is extra fucking stupid, but not in that one very specific way.
I don't know. We'll see. Now, there's a bunch of stuff from this episode I want to talk about.
Okay, well, let's start talking about it an hour and 13 minutes in. Let's actually start talking about the episode.
Okay, so the first thing I want to bring up, what has been the result of Team RWBY's little excursion to Atlas? Now, knowing that the only reason that Salem came here in the first place was because she knew Team RWBY was coming here. So they came here to protect a thing that they needed to keep from Salem. Mm-hmm. They lost that thing. They got untold numbers of people killed. And now, at the end of the season, they have unilaterally made a decision that is going to destroy the most advanced kingdom in Remnant.
Oh yeah, that's the thing we haven't really talked about, because the thing is, like, so Ironwood, they had to stop Ironwood from exploding Mantle. Ironwood's in jail now, but they still have to drop Atlas and get everyone out because a mean lady might come back. So we better fucking destroy the kingdom, evacuate everyone, move them away from their homeland, because that's the only way that they can get away from the mean lady.
Yeah, this is the thing. Atlas has come under attack from Grimm. Now, a thing that happens in this world is that Grimm attack you all the time, and you have to have ways of defending yourself from them. Now, I get the idea that maybe this was a particularly big Grimm army, but again, this is the most advanced city in all of Remnant.
It's the whole reason they came here.
Yeah, it's the one capable of building armies that, we haven't seen this, but are the most capable of defending anyone from Grimm. To the point where the plan was that once Atlas was secure, they were going to send their army all over the world to help everyone else protect themselves because they were less capable. Now, they have stopped Ironwood from dropping the bomb and destroying Mantle, and what they're doing instead is dropping Atlas, which when it hits the ground will act like a bomb and destroy both Atlas and Mantle. The most advanced kingdom in this place is going to be destroyed in order to evacuate everyone.
So what you're saying is that RWBY showed up, destroyed the entire kingdom, and now they're going to leave. Good day's work, everybody.
And now they're sending everyone to the kingdom least capable of supporting an entire other kingdom's population. So that's what RWBY's done over the course of the last 2 seasons.
I keep thinking they can't possibly do a worse job, you know? I think, like, they endangered an entire city. There's no way they can do a worse job than this. They endangered an entire kingdom. There's no way they can do a worse job than this. Well, now they are destroying an entire kingdom because of something that's their fault.
They made the unilateral decision to destroy an entire kingdom. Like, even just taking the staff with them. There's no cooldown on how long it takes for you to make another wish, to ask the god to create something. So I understand there's like a half-assed justification for why you need to evacuate everyone, because the place is overrun with Grimm and it's dangerous, and for some reason the army is completely ineffectual. And Salem's about somewhere. So what is to stop them from evacuating everyone and then just going back to the vault and saying, hey, can you implode the thing again?
What's to stop them from asking the Jinn to make infinite guns? or whatever, his name's Ambrosius. What's to stop them from asking Ambrosius to make a bajillion airships, to make anything that, if the Grimm are the issue, if your only problem is that there's too many Grimm now, better evacuate the entire kingdom. He has an infinite number of ways you could deal with that real fucking quick.
Yeah, in the time it takes for Atlas to just float for a while.
It's so bad. It's almost like, it's like the characters Ever since Mercury and Tyrion left, they're like, shit, we're just ready to get on to the next fucking season, you know?
Yeah.
What's all these problems that Atlas and Mantle have? We don't give a shit anymore, actually. Let's just take them with us to the next season and we can deal with it there.
Yeah. I just can't get over how flimsy the excuse is for destroying this entire kingdom. Like, it's going to be destroyed. But it's fine because everyone's going to survive? Sort of.
Oh yeah, I was thinking it's like, okay, so we know that they like Thor Ragnarok, right? So I bet they just wanted to create a Thor Ragnarok situation where they have, you know, like the remainders of this civilization with them as refugees, because it's cool.
I think about Thor Ragnarok sometimes and how, like, I love that movie. And one of the reasons I love that movie is that I was not expecting to walk into an MCU movie and find it talking about fucking colonization.
Yeah.
And sort of coming to terms with what has happened and whether or not this place deserves to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you know, if you had given a shit and, you know, or maybe even like possibly even got, you know, the message there, you probably could have done something like that with Atlas. It's just.
I'm so glad we're bringing all the super white people to the Middle East to colonize it.
What's the actual justification for dropping Atlas? It seems to be, like, to some extent to save Penny, which once again, the main characters are more important than anyone else.
No, it's just to fucking get away from that mean lady.
Here's a question I have for you. How was Ironwood going to get the genie to make Atlas go higher? Like, what was the instruction there?
That's the thing.
Did you have a blueprint that was just like, Atlas go up? Like,
yeah, exactly, because they used to say the staff creates energy that you can use to do whatever, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing that they said when they were fucking liars. So the idea was that just the staff created float energy, which is already stupid, but now we're supposed to think that they asked. It's like, is there a machine somewhere that makes Atlas float? Who cares? Fuck you.
No, it's just like they just said, hey, can you make the thing float? And it did. He doesn't just make energy. He doesn't just do things. He builds a thing for you. So he had to build something that I guess has now disappeared and is going to make Atlas fall.
Yeah, it's off screen somewhere, we promise, probably.
So Penny's schematics. They had Penny's schematics, and then he can build anything that he has schematics of. So I'm going to assume that those schematics did not include the virus. So if he's capable of just building another body using the same... God, that explanation does my fucking head in.
It just literally doesn't make sense. He just needed to make a virus, Penny, and then her soul, which is also Pietro's soul, but it's also her own soul, but it happens to look exactly like the body Pietro designed for her. But
imagine if like he made the new body and she was black. There's a lot of ways this could have been worse.
I don't know. I think that would have made more sense. Because I hate the idea that's like he designed this fucking weird ginger waifu, right?
Yeah.
And now she's going to meet him again and she's going to be flesh, and I don't like thinking about it. I don't like thinking about how this all actually... It's really... I don't like thinking about it.
No, I think that's fair. So yeah, just to sum up, Ironwood was defeated in about 30 seconds.
Hate the show.
With no resistance, they just went to the vault and had the guy do a bunch of stuff they wanted him to do. Again, in terms of Team RWBY, they were handed schematics by other people and went to a big blue man and just asked him to do some stuff for them, and he did it with no resistance whatsoever. Because he was just there and available to solve all their problems at any given moment. There was the stay thing, there's the fact that they're destroying the kingdom.
Penny is a real girl now, finally. She's finally a real girl like she wasn't before.
Yeah.
She's a human with a good Christian soul.
And yeah, that.
I hate it.
And that.
All the ideas. This is like the worst I've ever seen in terms of stories about robots and their humanity.
Yeah.
Because it's so bad. Nothing matters for humanity other than having a soul, but we also know that you were just given a chunk of a soul by another person, and fuck you.
So it doesn't count. I was ragging on the handling of Data in Next Generation last time, but like at least in fucking that one, everyone eventually came to realize that he was a sentient being and had nothing to fucking do what his body was made out of.
It didn't have to do with whether he had someone else's soul chunk in him.
No, he was just a living being who had thoughts and developed a personality, and that was enough. And I cannot get past the fact that they didn't even write this in a way where Penny had a problem with it. It was other people's problem with it. It was fucking RWBY's problem with it.
Penny was barely conscious for most of this season.
RWBY was the one who decided that she needed a fucking flesh body.
Well, technically the Jinn is the one who decided it, but then everyone suddenly, like, they act like they knew that this was the good, important outcome of this. Like, that makes sense. And it's like, they really shouldn't think that makes sense.
I feel like they were dismissing all of the mechanical parts as extras. Like, Yang says that. Mm-hmm. So I feel like the implication before that was that, like, the mechanical's not real, so you'll have to do something else with her. Like, making her a new mechanical body wasn't an option. He was going to have to make her, a real person.
I hate it. It's fucking stupid. Yeah. It's interesting because Genlock had some of this flavor of ableism too, and like because he was so injured that he was kind of a guy floating in a tank, and he's like, I'm basically dead. I'm not even a human person because I don't have limbs.
His girlfriend treated him the same way like that. And then eventually there was this whole thing about, him kind of losing his connection to humanity when he eventually does die and decide to remain inside the robot, even though he is perfectly sentient inside that robot. That's something else to think about what has been done to Penny here, is that they have taken away her potential immortality. They've given her a much more fragile body.
Yeah. I was just thinking about, have you seen the movie The Last Unicorn?
No.
I'll kill you. But I was recently rewatching it with my mom, and there's a scene where they turn her into a person to save her from the Red Bull, and the older lady companion is like, what have you done? What have you done? and she's like, I can feel this body dying all around me. And that's what this should be like. Since they completely sidestep the whole usual AI thing by being like, you have a soul, what her actual conflict could have been, and it could have been really interesting, is her worrying about whether her soul is just a reflection of Pietro or whether she's really her own person or not.
Yeah.
Like, they don't bring that up, the fact that her soul is canonically just a chunk of Pietro's soul. They don't consider that relevant at all, but that seems like something that you could actually have some fun with, but they don't, because they don't think about anything ever.
It's analogous to the idea of, you being a reflection of the people who raised you and around you anyway, like all humans are that to some extent.
Yeah.
And also, like, you could even eventually make the point that the fact that she has a soul, like some aura, is not the sum total of who she is as a person. She is her experiences and her thoughts and everything else.
God, I would love if that was the case and not what's actually the case, which is all that stuff doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, no. The thing that was important and made her human and made her worthy as a fucking living being, deserving of respect as an independent entity, was the fact that she has a chunk of soul in her. Like, forget the rest.
I hate it. It's so offensive to me intellectually. It really makes me really, really mad. It makes me so fucking mad.
I mean, look, you've got a whole fucking webcomic that where, like, you really got into this idea. This is a particular thing that you like thinking about.
Yeah, I care about it so much that I somehow managed to work it into my stupid ass mecha hero weird silly comic. Because yeah, it does people handle AI in a lot of stupid ways, and one of my least favorite ways is when people end up dodging the issue of the line between a robot and a person by saying they have a soul or fucking whatever. And this is the worst you could possibly do, because now she's not even a cool robot. Now she's just a flesh girl, and
I do love the fact that, like, the way you're so dismissive of Kiwi Blitz in some ways. Like, yeah, I managed to work in this plot about what makes your robot human into several chapters of a big fight between a bunch of furries and idiots and robots in a fucking car park.
Yeah, that's my comic. I'm feeling pretty good about it, though, compared to this shit.
Oh yeah, it's better than RWBY.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's like, it's silly. It seems completely random, but you know what? Characters do things that you can kind of predict because of their personalities, and they have like things that are going on in their lives that aren't just immediately what's on screen. Because I'm not a fucking piece of shit writer, horrible person. My comic is better than your TV show. Ha ha.
It's a combination of several things RWBY does. They don't think about the implications of things they do. They have a point they want to get into the story, and they're terrible at backfilling justifications for them. And they have really stupid, out-of-date ideas about things like robots and racism and shit. So, yeah.
Like, I could not have told you this shit was going to happen last episode, right? It just happens. That's the thing about RWBY, is things just they just happen.
Yeah.
Penny's just a human now. Bam. And I bet it'll barely come up. Everyone will just be happy for her. And Ironwood, bam, he's just defeated. Who fucking cares? And it's...
Yeah.
I'm drunk.
That's part of the reason that you're seeing people dissatisfied with this season is that shit just happens with no build-up. And all the stuff that's happening is coming out of nowhere. In particular, the solutions. Team RWBY just walks up and has someone else fix this problem for them. They've been doing it for the last 2 seasons. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah, and they're like, why haven't we done this before? And it's like, maybe because last time you described what the staff does, it did a different thing, you motherfuckers.
It really is legit fascinating to me that they don't recognize how inactive, we've talked about this, but how inactive Team RWBY is. Like, in this episode, they even have the other team go and beat up Ironwood, which is like, as anticlimactic as it was, that's still like an action that someone takes to move the plot forward. All Team RWBY do is walk Penny to the vault and ask someone to do something based on shit that was given to them by other characters. Like, it's fucking amazing.
So good. But, they did the really important thing, which was to say again, she has a soul.
Anyway, are we done talking about this episode?
Let me think.
About this miserable fucking pile of shit?
It's like, I feel like I could talk for 500 hours about all the reason that this is a bad end to Penny's arc, but I guess I shouldn't technically, but I think everyone understands by this point. It's so bad.
There is something else sort of RWBY related I want to talk about a little bit. It's kind of off topic. This thing is only sort of tangentially RWBY related, but it just sort of occurred to me. I've been playing a lot of Honkai Impact, which is sort of the proto Genshin Impact, I think. Like, they're 2 mobile games from, I think, MiHoYo.
I didn't even think about the fact that they both have Impact in the name.
Yeah, it's funny. So, Genshin Impact is the one that's like very open worldy, obviously taking some cues from Breath of the Wild. Not that that's a bad thing. Breath of the Wild's a real good game. And it's a big fantasy sort of gacha. You run around, you collect characters, blah, blah, blah. Whereas Honkai Impact was a bit more limited to begin with, and you went through missions that were very much on rails.
Yeah, it's like a simple action game, right? I downloaded it once, but I didn't play a whole lot of it.
Yeah. Like, you have all these different characters, generally called Valkyries, who run around beating up stuff. Now, the reason I want to talk about it is that, like, I played it for a while, and the story is very loose and pretty wild. But I realized at some point that the story is a version of good RWBY. Let me tell you a little bit about the world.
Okay.
In the setting of Honkai Impact, there are these sort of supernatural beasts called Honkai, which are just sort of a general, ever-present threat to humans. They tend to show up more when civilization gets further into life, and they're just something that has to be dealt with. So you have various different organizations that have different ways of dealing with the Honkai and protecting people. Does this sound real familiar to you?
Yeah, it sounds like every anime Phoenix. I don't know why you're comparing it to RWBY. I'm just kidding. I've seen those promotional videos for it that are very, when you watch them, it's like, oh, this is what RWBY could theoretically look like if they knew how to render animes.
Yeah. So this is the thing. The game, for a mobile game, the thing looks fucking stunning. Like, if you've got a nice good phone, it runs real smooth. The fighting is excellent. It's very dumb waifu in terms of, it's all these girls in skin side suits and blah blah. Like the opening CG, like the first thing you see, you're introduced to one of the main characters, Kiana, like butt first, essentially.
Yeah. You
start on a mission where they're fighting people, but what you find out is that all these Valkyries go to a Valkyrie school where they learn fighting techniques and how to fight the fucking Honkai.
Yeah, very anime, like every anime, not specifically RWBY. Okay.
Now, what's funny about the game, though, is that the story moves very quickly. The other thing about this world is that when civilization gets to a certain point, you usually have something called a Hershia show up, who is a human possessed by a sort of insane Honkai spirit who turns evil and is incredibly powerful and can often pretty easily destroy civilization as it stands and send them back to the Stone Age.
Oh, fucking German, Herscher.
There's a lot of German in this, yeah.
German is the coolest language.
So what's funny about the story, though, is that it moves real quick and gets fucking wild almost immediately. Like, within, 3 or 4 chapters, the school has been destroyed. The main character, Kiana, turns out was a Hershia in waiting, and they kind of knew.
Those fucking spoilers.
But unfortunately, she gets too out of control and destroys most of civilization. And then it, jumps forward. She's gone missing. The other characters are trying to track her down. There's this new force called the World Serpent, who seems to have come from some alternate dimension that was accidentally opened up. There's this thing called the Sea of Durak, which it's a weird sort of meta space in between dimensions, and one of the two forces that were built to like fight Honkai accidentally open it up, so they have to go to an undersea base. Someone was given a massive carrier.
Right now, I'm just imagining myself in a chair, and you're just standing over me, and you're like, you need to understand the Hersher and the thing.
Look, but the point I'm trying to get at is the story is fucking wild. Like, it's really, it's pretty stupid.
Yeah, like Fate style wild, it sounds like.
Kind of, yeah, but it's more that, like, they are just chucking shit at you all the time, and it really is just to sort of tie fights together. But you know what?
But how often do they sit at home talking about their feelings?
Yeah. That's kind of fun. You know, like the fact that there's just shit happening all the time, and there's all these different fucking anime ideas, and you're meeting these new people, and you're having these weird fights, and concepts keep changing, and like as silly as it is, if you sort of roll with it a bit, it's kind of fun. Like, and then also if they want to do character stuff, the last 3 chapters I've played have been centered on this character Bronya, who dives into the Sea of Durac and ends up having these sort of like very sort of dreamlike slips into these worlds where that at first are just about her getting through this maze so she can get to the other end, but end up sort of being about her dealing with her feelings towards the people who sort of turned her into a killing machine and injured her. And then also dealing with her feelings towards Kiana and the fact that she was a Hershia and ended up killing all these people, even though she personally had no control over that. And just sort of being in, like her also exploring the idea of how she has to sort of forgive. It would be better for her to just forgive and move on from the things that were done to her in the past. Like, but it's done through this sort of dream logic where she's sort of present in these stories and can see herself in all these different characters. And it's like, this is actually kind of interesting. It's just legit sort of fascinating.
Feels like Honkai Impact.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if I'd recommend playing it. The only reason I started playing it is I should say why I started playing it is because they had an event where you could get Asuka from Evangelion.
You needed her.
And I
just love that you went in. It's like, and there's the plot, and then the dreams, and then blah blah blah. I don't know if I'd recommend it.
It's a fun game. Like, it actually is like fun to play. I was just thinking about how like compared to RWBY, like this is a game that had very very similar instincts in the early stages to like early RWBY, but this was a version of it where you just run with the buck wildness.
I feel like Symphogear is probably a lot like that once it starts getting to the parts that people assure me are good. Right? It's just like it's fucking ridiculous. It's the best.
Yeah, and it's fucking ridiculous. But if you want to invest yourself into the lore a bit, like there's elements of depth there. Like you can sort of get sucked into these characters and sort of get a bit invested in stuff. That's kind of interesting.
I was thinking about that with one of the Honkai Impact animations is that like super powerful lady and she like smashes all these cubes in front of it on this girl and she's like really like fucking her up with all these shapes. And I'm like, that's how the maiden should feel, like just this overwhelming control of time and space and whatever, and they'll just fuck you up. But
that's what the Hershias are like when you see them fight. They're just like utterly fucking overwhelming. It's just another one of those times where you look at something and go, this is very similar to RWBY, but like it's just done a better job.
Yeah.
Even though there are tons of things you can criticize about it. It's just sort of interesting.
But instead we sat around and we asked a man to solve our problems, a big magic Nick man. He was like, sure. And we were like, yeah. And that was the whole episode. And now Penny's a real girl and not a cool robot that can do cool anime things. So don't even worry about it. Problem solved. Problem of her being interesting solved. Don't worry.
In light of what happened with Marrow and Stay, we're going to be releasing a video version of the Marrow Problem podcast that we did.
It's just so funny to me because like I was so ready for that to be the thing everyone was alluding to me being pissed about probably because everyone was like, oh, Cube's going to hate this episode. I had no idea Flesh Penny was coming.
Well, there's 2 episodes to go, guys.
Yeah, only 2 episodes left. I'm going to be ready for that break this time. Last time I remember near the end, you were like, I'm going to need the break. And this time, I'm going to need the break.
Oh, yeah, I'm ready to be done too, so.
I need to watch some good anime.
Hey, there's a new season coming up. We're going to be doing the new anime season in probably a month and a bit.
Oh, yeah, there's actually some exciting looking stuff in the new season. I'm excited.
Yeah. And again, if you're a Patreon, you get to vote on what we watch. So, something to think about.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, have a good bad show, everyone.
Bye.